And her cousin, John Reed, he was 14 years old. He was cruel. He was a bully and violent boy. Nobody punished him. He always bullying Jane, punishing her not 2 or 3 times a week, not once or twice a day, but always, all the time. Her whole body trembled whenever he came near her. Eliza was selfish, but she was respected. Georgiana had a bad temper, but she was popular with everyone else just because she was beautiful. But according to what John Reed always does with Jane, Jane will turn from an innocent girl, البنت في لحظة معينة in chapter 1 هتتحول من كونها إنها innocent child, innocent girl, بنت بريئة بسبب معاملة جون ريد ابن خالها. She will turn from an innocent girl to a fierce monster. هتتحول لوحش، هتتقلب عليه قلبة جامدة. All the time, she feared him and she obeys him. Okay, just a moment. Just like we said, I'm sorry for interruption. Just like we said, she feared him a lot and she didn't know how to deal with him. She didn't know how to defend herself. So when he hit her with a heavy book, cut her head on the door, Jane turned it to be a fierce monster, زي ما قلنا, forgetting being innocent, and she fought him so hard. So chapter 1 opens on this. Yani, let's go and shed a light on this chapter 1. But first, let's start with a summary of the plot of this novel and see what's going to happen in the whole novel. Okay. So Jane, just a moment. She was an orphan. She was 10 years old and she lived with the Reed's family, as we said, who humiliated her, scolded her all the time. والمنزل نفسه اللي كانت عايشة فيه، لأن احنا هنتنقل مع جين من مرحلة لمرحلة according to the place that she is going to live in. Mrs. Reed, after her fight with her son, she decided to send her off to Lowood School. Lowood School was a charity school. Okay. So we have to admit. Okay, thank you. She decided to send her to Lowood School, which is a charity school for orphan girls. يعني حتى هي ما كانتش عايزة إنها تدفع الإكسبنسز بتاعت school fees or school expenses. So she decided to send her to school, to a school for poor people, for poor girls, women. Just the parents or the relatives بتوع الأورفن. It's a school for girls, مدرسة للبنات بس. وفي ال relatives بتوع الأورفن girls دول, they pay just 15 pounds each year. But gentlemen, some kind gentlemen and ladies, which who are they very rich, بعض الجنتلمان والليديز اللي هم الاغنياء يعني as a charity work كعمل خيري ليهم، بيقوموا دافعين هم باقي المصاريف بالنسبه لهم. اوكي. The headmaster, which is who is Mr. Brocklehurst, he was a cruel man. He was a hypocritical in his preaching, in his teaching. He was a religious man, but he was a man of so many contradictions. He deals with these poor girls، يتعامل مع الفتيات المساكين دول اللي موجودين داخل مدرسة لوود in a way، بطريقة وبأسلوب معين، ويتعامل مع الفاميلي بتوعه هم his own family in another way. So he was a man of so many contradictions. Okay. يبقى زي ما قلنا كان الفاينانشال مانجر بتاع لوود سكول كان راجل كرول قاسي جدا مع البنات الاطفال الصغيرين، والبنات حتى برضه الكبار، هم كانوا aged from 10 to 20 or 8 years old to 20 years old. بنات يبقى من بنات صغيرين لحد بنات كبار موجودين في المدرسه ديت مع بعض. والراجل اللي هو المدير المالي مستر بروكلهيرست ده he was a cruel man and hypocritical in so many ways. While the conditions at the school were harsh. The conditions, the weather conditions, the living conditions in Lowood School was very hard. They didn't give the girls, they didn't give them, okay, Mr. Muhammad, الفيديو شغال على طول. They didn't give the girls much food or enough food, and they were growing up children. كانوش بيدوهم أكل كويس، وهم لسه أساساً أطفال لسه صغيرين، جسمهم بينمو شوية بشوية. كان كمان الويذر كونديشنز كانت دايماً السكول نفسها كانت so cold، وفجأة دخل عليهم كمان مرض التيفوس اللي هو التيفويد. And this disease or this bad illness killed almost about half of the girls at Lowood School. One of them was Helen Burns, but Helen Burns, she was Jane's Eyre best friend. دي كانت صديقتها، أول صديقة في حياتها تعملها، أول صداقة تكونها في حياتها. Her first dear friend or close friend, Helen Burns, but she didn't die of typhus. She died of tuberculosis اللي هو مرض السل. بس لما جه مرض التيفوس ده breaks out at Lowood. I'm sorry for the video. So Jane's best friend passes away. She dies. And half of the girls dies. After this, the conditions of Lowood School, everything has changed. And even Mr. Brocklehurst has changed. Then she grew up. Jane grew up and she became a girl aged 18. She works for a while as a teacher at Lowood School. Then she decided to have freedom, to have different experiences in life. فجأة قعدت تفكر مع نفسها، وبعدين وجدت إنها she thought إن هي ما راحتش في أي مكان تاني. She didn't go anywhere else rather than Gateshead اللي هو المنزل اللي اتربت فيه وهي صغيرة، وشافت فيه بقى يعني arts of torture، يعني فنون العذاب كلها. جون يضربها، مسز ريد تعاقبها طول الوقت، تحبسها في الريد روم. اوكي. ولكن بتقرر بقى ان انا ما شافتش اي مكان تاني. She didn't see any other places rather than Gateshead and Lowood School. So she decided to leave Lowood and gets a job as a governess. A governess، وبعد كده هتتنقل للمرحلة الثالثة اللي هي Thornfield. وهناك في Thornfield she will meet يعني قصة حياتها بقى، قصة الحب بتاعتها وقصة حياتها كلها هتقابل مستر روتشستر، إدوارد روتشستر, and he was the owner of Thornfield Hall. He has a child called Adele. She was 8 years old and she decided to go and learn or teach this young child. Even though Jane's master اللي هو Mr. Rochester, he was a little harsh, he was peculiar, شخص غريب الأطوار, لكن she finds إن هو he is an attractive man, and eventually at the end she falls in love with him. And one day he proposes to her when he confesses his love for her. هيعترف لها بحبه ويتقدم للزواج منها, and she will agree. But their wedding ceremony was interrupted by the discovery, a very dangerous or a very terrible discovery, اكتشاف خطير جدا هتكتشفه جين يوم فرحهم هما الاثنين على فرحها هي ومستر روتشستر, إن الراجل ده Mr. Edward Rochester is already married to a woman. She is called Bertha Mason. She was a mad woman, كانت ست مجنونة. But he keeps her locked in a room, سايبها محبوسة طول الوقت. بعد ما اتجوزها فترة, في البداية كانت إنسانة natural, normal جدا. والفكرة إنه his father insisted on marrying or get his son اللي هو Edward Rochester to be married, to get married to this woman, لأن باباها كان صديقه, and she has a big fortune, كان عندها ثروة كبيرة. فhe insisted to get him married to this woman, but he didn't tell his son that. Okay, he didn't tell her son that this woman, إنه الديزيز بتاع المادنس, مرض الجنان ده, هو كان أساساً مرض مستشري في العيلة, كان وراثة يعني heritage أو inheritage في العيلة بتاعتها. Her mother and her brother, they had the same disease, they had the same illness, النوع ده من الجنان. But his father, Mr. Rochester's father, didn't tell his son about that, وأصر إن هم لازم يتجوزوا, وحط إن هو حط شرط condition إن هو مش هيقدر إن هو يتحكم, he will not be able to control his own properties, ولا الأراضي بتاعته, ولا حتى السرايا اللي اسمها Thornfield Hall, مش هيقدر إن هو يتصرف في أي حاجة من ممتلكاته لو إن هو got divorced to this woman, لو طلق اللي هي بيرثا ميسون. وعشان كده he left Thornfield Hall and he was always away, traveling everywhere all over the world, and he didn't want to come back. But when he met Jane Eyre, he fell in love with her, but he didn't reveal her his dangerous secret, ما قالهاش ولا كشف لها السر ده تماما, ولكن هي طول الوقت كانت حاسه ان في strange events و strange laughters, كان في ضحكات غريبه بتصدر واصوات غريبه, لصوت mad laughter جايه من بشكل غريب جدا, وضحكات بتخوفها, تسمع صوت ضحكه كده في اي وقت من الدور اللي هو التوب فلور اللي موجود في المنزل بتاع ثورنفيلد هول, وبعدين فجاه تلاقي كل الناس الموجودين الممبرز بتوع ثورنفيلد هول, مسز فير فاكس اللي هي الهاوس كيبر بتاعت المنزل, وكل السيرفنتس كلهم يبأكدوا لها انه في واحده اسمها جريس بول هي اللي بتصدر الاصوات اللي هي الضحكات السترينج لافتر او الماد لافترز دي, الضحكات الغريبه والضحكات المجنونه دي. بس هي طول الوقت بتبقى she feels that there is a secret. No one wants to tell her about the secret. So on her wedding day, she discovered this secret, that Mr. Rochester was married to a mad woman called Bertha Mason. Okay? So someone came, just a moment. On their wedding day, someone came and interrupted their wedding. He stops the ceremony أو the procedures, وقف الإجراءات بتاع مراسم الزواج تماما، وكشف السر بتاع مستر روتشستر قدام جين اير. He told her that he was already married. So as a Christian man, he couldn't marry to anyone else. He couldn't have any other wives because he is Christian. He should be married to just one woman. So this marriage is illegal. And that he keeps that woman locked away on the 3rd floor of Thornfield Hall. Jane flees, she escapes, and ends up her relationship with Mr. روتشستر، إدوارد روتشستر، وبتبدأ هنا تتنقل لستيج تانية وتروح وهتتقابل مع الكازنز بتوعها، ومش هتبقى عارفة إن دول الكازنز بتوعها اللي هم عائلة ريفرز. أوكي؟ شوف الصوت يا شباب.
Chapter 1 of Jane Eyre opens on a rainy November day.
So chapter 1 opens
Jane Eyre, age 10, is
on a rainy November day، وبتبدأ تحكي لنا هي قصتها. She is the narrator of the novel. هي الراوي بتاع، يعني whenever you see I pronoun I في الستوري بتاعتنا نعرف ان هي جين اير، لان هي اللي بتحكي القصه بتاعتها بنفسها. She just write يعني as if she was writing her diary. اوكي؟ فشابتر 1 بيفتتح على ايه؟ او بنبداه ازاي؟ ان بنلاقي انه Mrs. Reed she refuses. These are her cousins, Eliza, John, and Georgiana, and she wants to join on this day. They didn't walk out, or they didn't have a picnic outside the house because it was a rainy day and a cold day. So they decided to stay in the house. Mrs. Reed, her aunt, مرات خالها, she made a family circle and started to distribute some sweets to her children. تمام؟ When Jane came to join this family circle, she refused. She refused to do so. Why? وسألتها طب انت ليه مش عايزاني انضم للفاميلي سيركل ديت؟ قالت لها عشان بيسي دي كانت النيرس ميد بتاعتهم، وقالت لها انه بيسي اشتكت منك. She complained about you. So if you don't behave yourself, if you don't conduct well, you will not be able to be treated as one of my children. Despite the fact، بالرغم من الواقع انه Mrs. Reed اساسا she gave her husband while he was on his deathbed، وهو على فراش الموت خالها مستر ريد، he ordered his wife ان هو to give him a promise that she will bring up Jane as one of her children. But she didn't keep this promise. وعدت جوزها قبل ما تتوفى ان هي هتاخد بالها من جين اير وتعاملها كواحده من ايه؟ من اطفالها، ولكنها لم توفي بوعدها، ما وفتش بالوعد ده خالص. Okay. She didn't keep to this promise. Okay, so she treated her so badly, and she told her that she has to go away. Unless she speaks pleasantly, she has to keep silent. So she crept and go to the next room, to the living room, and she started to have a book علشان انها تحاول انها من خلال هذا الكتاب انها to go into a world of imagination to forget about her sadness and loneliness. Okay, so just a moment. بيجي جون ريد اللي هو ابن خالها her cousin، وبيطلب منها يعني دايما كان المكان اللي هي بتقعد فيه ده كان الهير هايدنج بليس، المكان الاختباء بتاعها او المكان اللي هي بتحب ان هي تقعد فيه ومحدش يقرب منها خالص. And she hoped all the time she hopes that no one will discover her hiding place. ولكن جون بيكتشف فعلا مكانها وبيبدا وبيبدا ان هو pulling her as usual، وبيمسك الكتاب دوت اللي في ايدها ويقول لها هو it's not right, it's not your right, and it's not your books, and you have no right to take our books. This is my father's books and this is my house. Okay, so here Jane, at the very beginning of the chapter, she was asking her aunt, what does Bessie say I have done, Aunt Reed? فهنا كانت بتتكلم مع she was talking to Mrs. Reed, her aunt, because she refused to make her join the family circle. Okay, فطبعا ده كان شيء صادم بالنسبه لها، وراحت زي ما قلنا الاوضه الغرفه المجاوره اللي فيها المكتبه واخذت الكتاب وقعدت in her secret hiding place, and she hopes that no one might discover this place. But John Reed discovers it، وبيبدا ان هو يتعامل معها بشكل وحشي and hit her with the book. Okay, and بيقول لها you have no right to take our books. Here, how was Jane able to escape her sadness and loneliness? By reading and looking at the pictures of a book. And here, John Reed discovers هو واخواته Georgiana and Eliza discovers her hiding place، وبيبدأ يتبلطج عليها بقى bully her. Okay, he was a violent boy and a cruel boy، وبيبدأ يقول لها لما تتكلمي معايا تقولي what do you want, Master Reed? Okay, then he slapped her on her face, he hit her hard on her face and said her and told her that's for your rudeness to Mama just now and for your wickedness in hiding and looking at me like that, you rat. طبعا هي في اللحظة ديت أول ما بدأ خبطها بقى بالكتاب التقيل اللي كان معاها وبدأ إن هو يتبلطج عليها بشكل وحشي. في اللحظة ديت هي بدأت تنهار وتنسى خالص إنها كانت فتاة بريئة innocent girl وتحولت لوحش كاسر. فضلت تقول له you wicked cruel boy, you are a bully, you are as bad as a murderer. انت زيك زي القتلة بالظبط، انت بلطجي ومجرم. طبعا ايه اللي حصل؟ هيكون ايه الريزلت او الكونسيكونسز من her fight with John Reed؟ Mrs. Reed came with her two servants, Bessie and Miss Abbott. John Reed called for them, and after that she put her او she gave orders to Bessie and Abbott ان هي يودوها الريد روم، ومحدش محدش بينام دلوقتي في الريد روم دي خالص. دي كانت الريد روم ديت كانت بتاعت مستر ريد اللي هو خالها، and he died here 9 years ago, and no one has ever used this room بعد كده. Okay, then بنبدأ نشوف إنه Bessie here, Bessie and Miss Abbott, the two servants of this house, gets hit. They treated her less than a servant. بيعاملوها زي ما تكون servant وأقل كمان من الخادمة. بيقولوا لها أنت خلي بالك، أنت المفروض أنت ما كنتيش تعملي كده، وأنت عمرك ما عملتي كده. إزاي إن أنت تضربي how you dare to hit your master. بيقولوا لها إن ابن خالك هو سيدك، يعني إيه سيدك وتاج راسك. فبتقول لهم إزاي تقولوا عليه إن هو سيدي، ده ابن خالي. فبيقولوا لها لا، هو أنت هنا اساسا you are less than a servant. طبعا هو بيشوفوا معامله ميسيس ريد ليها الباد تريتمنت اوف ميسيس ريد all the time، وبالتالي هو السيرفنتس بقى الخدم نفسهم بيعاملوها بنفس الطريقه. they treated her very badly. Okay, so Mrs. Reed gave them order to put her in the read room and locked her in as a punishment for what she did to her son, to her dear son. Okay, وبنلاقي انه في the rest of the chapter بتبدا تتخيل جين ريد ان هي قاعده الغرفه، انه الجوست بتاع مستر ريد خالها بيطلع، وبيبدا دي الافكار الوحشه اللي بتجي لها لان هم دايما ما حدش بيستخدم الاوضه ديت من فتره او من ساعه ما مستر ريد خالها توفى في هذه الغرفه، كله بيخاف انه يدخل الاوضه دي. فهي she imagined ghosts everywhere and she imagined that she saw the ghost of her uncle Mr. Reed. She rushed to the door and she slapped the door and screaming, she started screaming wildly, asking them to take her out of this room. Okay, so Bessie and Abbott came and Mrs. Reed, of course. What did she do when Jane screamed? She thought that she is deceiving them, إنها بتخدعهم وإنها بتلعب عليهم خدعة just to get out of this room. فطبعا ما صدقوهاش إنها شافت حاجة أو إنها she is frightened. Okay, ف she said إنها كعقاب ليها as a punishment she should stay here in the red room for 1 hour more. كعقاب ليها قالت لها علشان انت you are trying to deceive us, you are trying to play a trick on us، يبقى انت هتاخدي عقاب بقى كده تاني ان انت هتقعدي ساعة تانية في الأوضة كمان. اوكي؟ so في اللحظة ديت فضلت ان هي she was begging her، بتتوسل ل Aunt Reed او Mrs. Reed وتقول لها please forgive me, I can't bear it، انا مش قادر استحمل ان انا to stay more in this room. Please let me out. وانا هسمع الكلام وهبقى كويسة. But of course she didn't listen to her. Okay? And she decided to let Jane stay in the red room for an hour longer as a punishment for trying to deceive them. Okay? So what happened at the end of chapter 1? This is the end of chapter 1. Jane couldn't bear staying in that room anymore. So she fainted. أغمى عليها في نهاية الشابتر دوت. Okay? وهنبدأ next week بإذن الله هنشوف ايه اللي هيحصل لها بعد ما اغمى عليها and she fell down on the floor just like here. Just a moment. You see she fainted and she fell on the floor ومحدش حس بيها خالص ايه اللي حصل. So I hope that you get benefit أو نكون استفدنا من السمري الكويك سمري دوت، واتمنى ان احنا كلنا prep 2 students prep 2 stage نطلع على الادمودو بلاتفورم و listen here to chapter 1 الاوديو بتاع chapter 1 and try to answer the questions on the last these questions and some important quotations. Try to answer them ونرفع الأجوبة ديت على المنصة بتاعت الادمودو. اوكي؟ ويعني أتمنى إن احنا نكون خدنا فكرة general idea كده، فكرة عامة عن الchapter. This is for chapter 1 for today and I hope that you will get benefit from this session. Next week we will discuss some questions about our revision, quick revision about chapter 1 and we will start chapter 2 بإذن الله. Thank you for you all and thank you for listening. Goodbye.